You've been told to work harder, to chase success, to keep running toward your goals like the world depends on it. But let me ask you something. What if I told you that success, happiness, peace, confidence, and abundance are not things you chase, but things you attract? What if your current reality is nothing more than the echo of how your brain is wired? This is your wake-up call. It's not about effort anymore. It's about direction, about energy, and about rewiring your brain to stop pushing and start pulling in everything that's already meant for you. Let's begin. The human brain is the most powerful and complex tool you'll ever own, and here's the truth that most people never fully realize. It's not fixed. It's not a static machine. Your brain is plastic, which means it's capable of change. Not just metaphorically, literally. The connections in your brain, the neural pathways that dictate your thoughts, behaviors, beliefs, and responses, those are flexible. They can be reshaped, rebuilt, and redirected. This is what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity, and it's the foundation of real transformation. Every single thought you think is like a signal, like a spark across a circuit. Think it once and it's weak. Think it over and over again and it becomes a path. Now repeat it daily, emotionally charge it, and it becomes a highway in your mind. That's how habits are formed. That's how beliefs are built. That's how identity is shaped. So if you've been stuck in a cycle of negative thinking, low self-worth, fear, scarcity, or doubt, it's not because that's who you are. It's just a wiring you've been reinforcing. The powerful thing is this: you can rewire it. When you recognize that your current mindset is simply the result of repetitive thoughts and emotional triggers, you stop being a prisoner to your past. You start becoming the architect of your future. You can choose to reroute the narrative. If you've spent years telling yourself you're not good enough, smart enough, lucky enough, you've built those roads deep into your brain. But new roads can be built too. Every time you interrupt a limiting belief and replace it with an empowering truth, this isn't about pretending or toxic positivity. It's about repetition. It's about consistent, intentional thinking. When you visualize success, you're actually activating the same parts of the brain that light up when you experience success. That's why elite athletes train their minds just as much as they train their bodies. Because your brain can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined reality and a real one. So if you're constantly imagining failure, conflict, loss, you're training your mind to live in that state. But if you start imagining wins, growth, peace, love, abundance, your brain starts building the framework to attract and create that. This is why affirmations work, not because they're magic, but because they shift your mental focus. When done consistently, they create new patterns. The key, though, is emotion. You can't just say things you don't believe. You have to feel them. You have to infuse them with meaning. You have to repeat them until they feel less like wishful thinking and more like truth. That's when the rewiring takes hold. That's when your inner narrative begins to transform. The most empowering thing you can do for yourself right now is take ownership of your internal world. Your brain responds to what you feed it, garbage in, garbage out. But if you start feeding it truth, possibility, vision, discipline, and purpose, it will build you a life that reflects that. Your reality is an external mirror of your internal programming. If you want to attract something better, you have to become someone better. Not better by comparison, better aligned, better aware, better focused. You rewire your brain through consistency, through mindfulness, through choosing better thoughts, even when your current situation screams otherwise. You train your brain like you train a muscle, with repetition, challenge, and time. You speak life over your goals. You move with intention. You interrupt negative loops and replace them with empowering ones, even if it feels fake at first. Eventually, those fake feeling thoughts become your new truth, your new normal. And here's the real breakthrough. Once your brain is wired for success, peace, abundance, or love, you stop chasing those things. They start showing up. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You became someone whose energy, thoughts, and actions align with the very things you used to chase. That's the power of neuroplasticity. That's the beauty of being human. You're never stuck. You're always one new thought away from a better life. Your thoughts are not just passing ideas or fleeting daydreams. They are the blueprint for everything you experience. What you think about becomes what you believe. What you believe shapes the decisions you make. And those decisions, they create your entire life. So when we talk about rewiring the brain, we're not talking about doing magic. We're talking about shifting the internal narrative that's been controlling your external world. Most people don't realize that their brain is not wired to make them successful, fulfilled, or even happy. It's wired to keep them safe. And safe usually means staying where you are, even if where you are is stuck, overwhelmed, frustrated, or scared. The thoughts you repeat to yourself day after day become your default operating system. So if those thoughts are rooted in fear, insecurity, doubt, or scarcity, your brain will keep leading you back to situations that validate those thoughts. You're not broken, you're just running an outdated program. Imagine waking up every day and your first thoughts are, this isn't going to work, or I'm not good enough, or it's too late for me. Now imagine the difference if you woke up and thought, I have everything I need, or I'm ready for what's next, or today is full of possibilities. That small change, those few words, can shift your energy, your behavior, and ultimately your outcomes. Because your brain responds to language. And when you feed it empowering language, it starts to rewire your internal expectations. Neuroscience backs this up. Repetitive thoughts create neural pathways in the brain, like grooves in a record. The more you think something, the deeper the groove becomes. That's why it's so hard to break out of negative cycles, because your brain has been trained to default to those loops. But here's the good news. The brain is also capable of change. With conscious effort, you can disrupt the old grooves and carve new ones. You can choose to interrupt the thought, I always mess this up, with, I'm learning and growing. You can replace, I'll never be successful, with, success is already on its way. This is more than just positive thinking. This is rewiring. This is about catching the lie before it becomes your truth. It's about becoming the observer of your own thoughts and asking, is this helping me or hurting me? And if the answer is hurting you, you replace it over and over again until your brain gets the message, until your new beliefs become second nature, because they will. That's the beauty of neuroplasticity. And here's where it gets really powerful. When your thoughts shift, your feelings shift. When your feelings shift, your actions shift. And when your actions shift, your results follow. But it all starts in the mind. That's why people who seem unstoppable aren't born with more talent. They're just disciplined with their thoughts. They don't entertain doubt. They don't rehearse their failures. They rehearse victory. They visualize the outcome. They talk to themselves with kindness, focus, and certainty. They use their thoughts as fuel. You can do the same. It doesn't matter how many times you've been discouraged, disappointed, or ignored. What matters is that today you choose different thoughts. Today you build a new mental pattern. Today you remind your brain who's in charge, because once you realize that your thoughts are shaping your world, you start thinking on purpose. You stop letting fear run the show. You stop reacting and you start creating. You were never meant to live small. You were never meant to live trapped inside your old beliefs. You were built to expand. And that expansion begins in the space between one thought and the next. That's your power zone. That's your point of change. So choose your thoughts like your life depends on it, because it does. Train your brain to expect more, to believe better, and to see possibility even when the world hands you a problem. Because once your thoughts start working for you, nothing can work against you. The energy you carry into the world becomes the magnet that pulls in the people, the experiences, and the opportunities around you. This isn't some fluffy concept. It's rooted in the way your brain and your body communicate with the environment. When you walk into a room full of confidence, without saying a word, people notice. When you show up with peace, clarity, and certainty, you begin to attract what aligns with that frequency. The truth is, your energy speaks before you do. And here's where things get real. If your internal world is chaotic, doubtful, angry, or fearful, that's exactly what you'll start to see mirrored back to you in your external world. Your energy is not just emotion, it's instruction. You are instructing your brain on what to seek, what to validate, what to ignore, and what to magnetize. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll see nothing but obstacles. If you feel stuck, your mind will find more reasons to justify that story. If you believe you're unworthy, the people you attract will treat you the same. This is why your internal state matters more than any goal you write on paper. You can set all the goals you want, but if your energy doesn't match the life you say you want, nothing changes. Think about it this way. Every time you complain, you're reinforcing lack. Every time you replay that betrayal, that failure, or that insecurity, you're emotionally rehearsing the exact experience you want to move away from. And your brain? It doesn't know the difference between what's happening and what you're imagining. So you keep wiring in the same patterns. You keep living on repeat. That's not bad luck. That's misdirected energy. So how do you shift it? You become intentional. You stop reacting to everything and everyone, and you start responding with clarity and self-control. You stop focusing on what you don't want, and you give all your attention to what you do want. This isn't about pretending your problems don't exist. It's about deciding which part of the problem you're going to empower. Are you going to keep giving your energy to the pain, or are you going to start feeding the solution, even if it's not visible yet? Attraction starts with alignment. That means who you are when no one is watching must match the vision you're trying to call in. You want success? Show up with discipline even when no one's clapping. You want love? Start treating yourself with the respect you've been begging someone else to give you. You want abundance? Stop operating from scarcity and start living like someone who trusts that what they need will come, even if it's not here today. Energy attracts energy. That's not a cute quote, it's a law. It's cause and effect. If you're anxious, you'll attract chaos. If you're grounded, you'll attract peace. If you're constantly proving your worth, you'll attract people who make you feel unworthy. But when you become so sure of who you are, so rooted in your values, so calm in your focus, you won't need to chase anything. The right people, the right ideas, the right opportunities, they'll be drawn to you. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've become a match for it. That's the real truth. You can't fake your energy. You can fake confidence for a while, sure. You can wear the mask. You can say all the right things. But your energy will always tell the truth, and it will always do the heavy lifting behind the scenes. So if you want real change, if you want to attract what's meant for you, then stop chasing, start becoming. Train your energy to match the life you want. And watch how fast that life starts showing up. Not because you wished for it, but because you prepared for it. And preparation is magnetic. When you want to attract something into your life, whether it's peace, abundance, confidence, love, or success, it doesn't start with the world outside of you. It starts inside your mind. And more specifically, it starts with vision. A clear, intentional vision sends a powerful signal to your brain. Without clarity, your brain has no direction, no roadmap, and no filter for the chaos around you. But when you have a clear vision, your mind starts scanning for the opportunities, behaviors, and patterns that match that vision. It's not magic, it's how your brain is designed to work. Think about it like this. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system. It's a filtering system. There are billions of pieces of information around you at all times. Your brain can't possibly absorb all of them, so it filters based on what it believes is important to you. That belief is shaped by what you constantly focus on. If you keep focusing on fear, your brain will notice more things to be afraid of. If you're always focused on rejection, guess what? You'll start picking up on anything that feels like rejection. But when you focus on a vision, an actual picture, feeling, and goal your future self wants, your brain goes to work to align your reality with that mental picture. Here's where most people go wrong. They think vision is a vague idea. I just want to be happier. I want more money. I want to be successful. But those aren't visions. They're wishes. Your brain doesn't respond to ambiguity. It responds to precision. It needs clarity, imagery, emotion. You've got to describe what success looks like, feels like, smells like. You've got to picture yourself walking into that meeting with confidence, waking up with peace, looking at your bank account with gratitude. The more vivid the vision, the stronger the signal your brain receives. And here's the kicker. Your brain does not know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. Athletes use this all the time. Olympians visualize their race over and over before they even step on the track because the brain starts creating neural pathways for the event even before it happens. You can literally train your mind to believe you're already becoming the person you want to be. When you do that consistently, you'll start behaving like that person, making decisions from that mindset, and the world starts to shift in response. Clear vision also eliminates distractions. How many times have you been pulled in 5 different directions because you didn't know what you really wanted? When you don't have a vision, you say yes to everything. But when you do have one, you start saying no. You stop wasting your time on people, habits, and decisions that don't serve your future self. Your energy becomes focused, and focused energy is powerful energy. It becomes a magnet. Now, this isn't about creating a fantasy and expecting the world to drop it in your lap. It's about alignment. When you live with a clear, intentional vision, you walk differently, you speak differently, you carry yourself like someone with purpose, and that's attractive, not just to people, but to opportunities, to clarity, and to progress. So ask yourself, what does your vision look like? Can you see it when you close your eyes? Can you feel it in your gut when you speak about it? If not, you haven't gone deep enough. Get specific, journal it out, speak it aloud, meditate on it every morning. Let it be the filter for every decision you make. Let it guide your habits, your boundaries, your priorities. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. So become the person your vision requires. That's how the shift happens. That's how you train your brain. That's how you stop chasing and start attracting. And it all starts with a clear, vivid, unstoppable vision. What you focus on grows. It's one of the most overlooked but powerful truths when it comes to rewiring your mind and reshaping your reality. Your brain is a goal-seeking machine. It does not operate randomly. It responds to patterns, to repetition, to where your attention consistently flows. So when you focus your energy, your thoughts, your feelings, your intentions on what you do want, you start sending a signal to your brain to notice, attract, and create more of that. And the opposite is also true. When your focus is constantly on what you fear, what you lack, what went wrong, or who hurt you, guess what you reinforce? More of the same. Your brain starts scanning the world to confirm that focus, looking for evidence that supports the story you've already been telling yourself. This is not some mystical idea. It's neuroscience, it's psychology, it's repetition. Think of your mind like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant, water, and nurture, that's what will grow. If you keep watering weeds, you will not get roses. But if you plant empowering thoughts, affirmations, goals, and beliefs, and you nurture those things daily, you begin to cultivate a mindset that makes success, peace, and confidence your new normal. And it doesn't happen by accident. It's intentional, it's deliberate, it's you choosing every single day to train your focus on what lifts you up instead of what tears you down. But here's the thing, focusing on what you want doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means you approach them differently. Instead of dwelling in them, you look for solutions. Instead of replaying the past, you create the future. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what can I learn and how can I grow from this? That shift in focus alone changes the emotional energy behind your thoughts. It shifts you from a place of victimhood to power. And that is where transformation begins. Let's be real, most people don't fail because they aren't talented. They don't fail because they aren't good enough. They fail because they never learn how to control their focus. They get distracted. They get overwhelmed by noise, comparison, fear, and negative thinking. They lose momentum because they keep directing their focus on the wrong things. And in doing so, they reinforce the very circumstances they're trying to break free from. You want to attract abundance? Start focusing on abundance. Talk about it, visualize it, act in alignment with it. You want peace? Start eliminating the chaos you give your attention to. You want love? Start showing love to yourself and stop entertaining anything that doesn't reflect that energy. The more you train your focus on what you desire instead of what you fear, the more your brain gets on board. It starts shifting your habits, your emotions, and your behaviors to support that new focus. It starts filtering out the noise and zooming in on opportunities, people, and choices that align with your new vision. This is not a one-day change. This is a lifestyle, a discipline. You're going to catch yourself slipping into old patterns of focusing on what's missing, who didn't show up, what's unfair. And when you do, you gently guide yourself back. You don't beat yourself up. You just realign. Because this is a practice, not perfection. And over time, those small moments of redirection become your new normal. You wake up with a different level of mental clarity. You walk into rooms with a different level of energy. You begin to attract better, not because of luck, but because your focus became your filter, and your filter changed your life. So if you're ready to rewire your brain and attract what you truly desire, start here. Audit your focus. What are you feeding your mind every day? What kind of thoughts are you rehearsing? Are you spending more time worrying, complaining, comparing? Or are you visualizing, affirming, and acting in alignment with the life you know you're capable of building? The answer to that question is the key to unlocking your next level. Because what you focus on consistently, intentionally, and emotionally becomes the framework for your future. You get to decide what grows. So choose wisely. The daily habits you choose are not just routines, they are the software updates for your brain. Every single action you repeat, no matter how small it seems, is training your brain what to believe, what to expect, and what to pursue. If you want to attract better, feel better, and live better, it doesn't start with some grand transformation. It starts with the micro decisions you make every morning before your feet hit the floor. Habits are powerful because they don't require willpower once they're established. They take over. They automate your behavior. And your behavior is the biggest predictor of your results. Think about this. When you wake up and immediately check your phone, scrolling through other people's lives, comparing yourself, consuming negativity, you're not just wasting time. You're telling your brain that the outside world is more important than your inner world. You're allowing distractions to hijack your focus before you've even decided what matters most for the day. That habit, if repeated enough, becomes your default state, and it reinforces the belief that your worth is external, that you have to chase approval, that you are not enough. But what if instead you made a new decision? What if you rewired your morning habit to start with silence or gratitude or a declaration of who you are becoming? It's not just motivational fluff. Neuroscience shows us that the brain is most impressionable in the first few minutes of waking. That means it's fertile ground. Plant the right thoughts and they'll take root. Start your day with a moment of intention. Speak to yourself, not just at yourself. Say things that sound like power, even if you don't fully believe them yet. I am worthy. I attract good things. I'm focused, capable, and becoming more disciplined every day. These affirmations aren't magic spells. They're blueprints. You say them enough, your brain starts believing them. You believe them long enough, your actions start aligning with them. That's how you rewire. Next, understand this. Your brain loves patterns. It craves routine. But here's the catch. It doesn't care if the routine is good or bad. It just wants what's familiar. That's why bad habits are so hard to break. They've become comfortable to your nervous system. To rewire, you have to introduce intentional discomfort. You have to interrupt the cycle and choose differently. That choice, it's where change. Let's talk about journaling. It's not just for writers or people with time to kill. It's one of the most powerful tools to rewire your thinking. Writing forces clarity. It slows the mind and lets your intentions crystallize. When you journal about what you're grateful for, what you want to achieve, and who you're committed to becoming, your brain starts forming a new identity around those ideas. And that identity becomes the filter through which you experience the world. And here's the key: consistency. This is where most people fall short. They try a new habit for a few days and give up because they don't see results. But real wiring, true transformation, comes from repetition. You don't get strong from lifting weights once. You get strong from showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's the same with mental habits. Rewire your brain the same way you train a muscle, through consistent resistance, focused effort, and time. If your current habits are built on fear, avoidance, procrastination, or self-doubt, then those are the very circuits that are firing in your brain every day. But if you shift toward discipline, purpose, gratitude, and belief, even in small steps, those are the new connections being made, and over time, those new connections override the old ones. That's the biology of transformation. You want to attract better, you want to live in alignment with your purpose, then start treating your habits like sacred rituals, not optional tasks. Wake up like your future depends on it, because it does. Eat like your body is the vehicle for your dreams. Move like energy flows through action. Speak like your words create your reality. because they do. You don't need to change everything overnight, but you do need to decide who you are becoming and then build habits that serve that identity. Because what you repeat, you reinforce. And what you reinforce, you become. So start small, stay consistent, and watch your brain, watch your life transform from the inside out. Limiting beliefs are silent architects of your reality. They're invisible fences built from fear, doubt, past experiences, and the voices of people who never believed in you. You can't see them, you can't touch them, but they dictate what you do, how you think, and what you believe you deserve. That's why if you want to rewire your brain and attract anything you want, you've got to start by removing the garbage that's been cluttering your mental space for years. Here's the truth. You were not born with limiting beliefs. You learned them. Somewhere along the way, maybe it was something a parent said in a moment of frustration. Maybe it was rejection you experienced at a young age. Maybe it was a series of failures that conditioned you to expect disappointment. You picked up these silent rules that now govern your actions. I'm not good enough. I'll never be successful. People like me don't win. These are not truths. These are decisions your younger self made in survival mode. And guess what? You're not that person anymore. But here's the catch. The brain is efficient. It doesn't care if a belief is right or wrong. It only cares if it's familiar. That means your mind will automatically return to those negative, outdated beliefs simply because they feel safe. And every time you repeat a self-limiting thought, you're reinforcing a mental pathway that keeps attracting the same unwanted experiences into your life. It's a cycle, but you have the power to break it. To start removing limiting beliefs, you need to become aware of them. That means listening, really listening to the way you talk to yourself. When you set a goal and instantly hear the whisper of, "But I can't," pause. Ask yourself, whose voice is that? Is it mine or is it someone else's fear that I've adopted as my truth? Because once you become aware of these beliefs, you take away their power. Next, you have to challenge them. Your brain needs evidence. It's a machine, remember? If you keep feeding it the same data, it will keep generating the same output. So you disrupt the cycle by giving it something new. Let's say you believe you're not smart enough to succeed. Prove it wrong. Write down 5 moments in your life when you solved a problem, overcame an obstacle, or learned something new. Flood your mind with counter evidence, because when the brain sees a new pattern, it starts to rewire. But awareness and evidence aren't enough. You need to replace. Nature hates a vacuum. If you remove a limiting belief but don't replace it with something empowering, your brain will just default to the old programming. So replace "I'm not enough" with "I am more than capable." Replace "I always fail" with "every failure has shaped the strength I carry today." These aren't just affirmations. They are instructions to your mind. Speak them, repeat them, live them. Now here's something powerful. Your environment either reinforces or rejects your beliefs. If you're surrounded by people who speak doubt, who live in fear, who never stretch beyond their comfort zone, guess what? That becomes your mental wallpaper. So if you're serious about removing limiting beliefs, take a hard look at your circle. Who are you listening to? What kind of content are you consuming? The brain is always learning. Make sure it's learning something that builds you, not breaks you. This isn't a one-time fix. This is a daily decision. You don't just remove limiting beliefs once and never see them again. They're sneaky. They show up when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're trying something new. But every time you catch one, challenge it, and replace it, you're doing the work of rewiring your brain. You're teaching it a new way to think, a new way to believe, and a new way to attract, the life you actually want, not the one you've settled for. Remember, what you believe you attract. If you believe the best is possible, you open the door to receive it. If you believe you're worthy of love, success, joy, and abundance, your brain will look for proof and find it. But it starts with removing the belief that says you can't. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're just operating on outdated software. And the good news, you're the programmer now. Gratitude is not just a feel-good concept tossed around in self-help books. It's a proven mental, emotional, and energetic recalibration tool. When you begin to practice gratitude consistently, you're not just saying thank you for what's good. You are literally training your mind to recognize abundance, to focus on the presence of possibility instead of the absence of progress. Most people don't understand that your brain works like a radar system. It's always scanning your environment, looking for data that confirms what you already believe. If you constantly believe you're behind, unlucky, unworthy, or stuck, your brain will filter and interpret your world to match that belief. But when you deliberately anchor your day in gratitude, you're flipping the switch. You're resetting your brain to recognize what's working, what's improving, what's present, and what's enough. And when that shift happens, your entire life begins to tilt in a new direction. Now let's be real, gratitude isn't always easy. You don't feel grateful when life punches you in the gut, when relationships fall apart, when your bank account screams empty, or when opportunities pass you by. But that's exactly when it becomes powerful. Practicing gratitude in difficult times isn't about ignoring your pain. It's about reclaiming your power. You stop waiting for external validation and you start choosing your internal vibration. That shift is magnetic. Why? Because when you're grounded in gratitude, you're no longer operating from lack, desperation, or fear. You're operating from fullness. You're showing the universe, your brain, and every cell in your body, I have enough, I am enough, and I see what's good, even now. That kind of energy attracts better. It draws in people, situations, and ideas that match your elevated frequency. You want to attract more peace? Be grateful for the moments of calm you already have. You want abundance? Start by appreciating every dollar, every opportunity, every connection that exists right now. You want love? Don't just sit and wait for someone to make you feel worthy. Be grateful for your own heart, your growth, your strength, and the love you give to yourself. Gratitude doesn't make you complacent. It empowers you to step into action with confidence and clarity because you're no longer driven by fear. One of the best ways to rewire your brain with gratitude is to do it daily, deliberately, and aloud. Yes, speak it. Your voice matters. Your brain pays attention when you say things out loud. So instead of waking up in frustration or scrolling through negativity, start your day by declaring 3 things you're